Hi, welcome to today's conversation Responsible Innovation in the AI Era, moving from hype to impact. I'm your host Kavita and I'm joined by two distinguished guests Kapil Jain, a seasoned technology leader, and Tarun, AI engineering head. AI is reshaping industries at a great pace, but amid the excitement, there's a critical need to ensure we scale AI responsibly balancing speed, innovation, security, ethics, and governance. Couple, as someone who's led large scale technology initiatives, why has responsible AI at scale become such a pressing conversation for businesses today?
Thanks, Kavita, for having me. You're right. The excitement around AI is, it's palpable, and it offers speed, efficiencies, and capabilities that we could not imagine a decade back. But the power comes with the complexity and risk. For example, last week or maybe 2 weeks back, one of the client of replicate informed that the AI has removed their database, like all the data for that client is being removed. So it's a risk kind of a thing. Like, of course, AI will make you efficient, but we need to take care of the risk as well. So my point is that when a company deploy AI solution without embedding responsibility, we will start to see unintended consequences, like we have in the case replicate case. So biases, outcome, privacy, invasion, even AI system are behaving in a way that their own creators did not anticipate. The reality is that responsible AI is not optional; it is essential. It is not just about compliance checkbox. It's about protecting your brand, earning the customer's trust, and securing a long-term success. But here, where I think many companies fall short, the conversation often stays at the surface. The size of AI is automation, cool use cases, flashy headlines. The deeper dialogue, the one about AI, societal impact, unintended consequences, and building last trusting is still lagging. Trust doesn't happen by accident. It requires intentionally transparency, fairness, and accountability. And the AI by its nature involves. It is learned in a way some we sometimes cannot predict. That's why governance cannot be over afterthought. We cannot you cannot have outsourced the responsibility of like I would say without any taking risk. I mean, without any I would say preemptive efforts. We cannot stay with the technologies. So it stay with us, human building, deploying, and overseeing these systems. So my point is that, I mean, if you need speed, you also need to take the responsibilities of the consequences.
That's a powerful perspective. Thank you, Kapil. So, now we have discussed the urgency of scaling AI responsibly. But let's get specific because one of the biggest yet often underestimated risk with AI is security and privacy. So, Kapil, from your point as a technology leader, what are the critical security and privacy pitfalls businesses need to watch out for as they scale AI?
uh, that's a crucial question, Kavita, and unfortunately that's catching many organizations off guard. The first pitfall is poor data governance. AI thrive on vast amount of data, but if the data is not properly secured, anonymized, or governed, you are inviting privacy violation and regulatory headaches. So it is not just about protecting the database; it's about protecting the raw material that fuels AI. The second risk: new attack surface. AI introduced vulnerabilities we did not have to think about before. For example, adversarial attacks where bad actor manipulate AI model by feeding them poisonous data and or misleading input. The model still functions but produce flawed and even dangerous outcome. And finally, many overlook how AI model themselves can inadvertently leak sensitive information. You will be surprised how easy prediction can be revealed. I mean, uh, if the customer information is pushed into the database or into the AI, you can always predict the customer data, their insights, or even their vulnerable data as well. If the model is not rigorously tested or and monitored, these are the kind of a risk that can have with the AI models. But the bottom line is that AI security is about just depending on your IT infrastructure. It's about designing security into AI system itself from the day one. Proactively, you usually add security, make layered and continuously make effort to improve all those kind of a security. Because once AI is operational, patching these things become very hard, and it will become very expensive at that stage.
Ah, such an important reminder. Security cannot be treated as an afterthought, especially not with AI. Tarun, for engineering teams under pressure to innovate fast, how can they build AI systems that prioritize privacy and security without slowing everything down?
Sure, Kavita. So first of all, I'll say this is a very, it's a big and a beautiful pyramid. Yeah, nicely layered out, right? And if you see at the bottom part, like it's by the basically the security by design. So it just reflects like the mindset. The mindset has to be like first, like we have to design systems which are like secured at the like from the start to the like end layer. Okay, so yeah, so if you see like most of these security layers are like applicable to the engineering systems as well, right? The context just changes with the AI based systems, right? So as I mentioned, like the base is basically security by designing, right? From coding to monitoring, right? All the operations should be secured, and the mindset should be like that, right? After that, like higher as we go move on to the higher layers, basically it's basically certain principles that we have to follow, like as mentioned, data encryption, right? So data encryption is nothing but like we have to have our data in transit or at rest, like encrypted, right? So there are many ways to do so in the cloud platforms, right? As we move further upwards, right? So there are certain privacy techniques such as federated learning and differential privacy. These are really interesting techniques, right? So I'll just like give a brief on these, right? So basically federated learning is basically something, right? You just don't put every data in a single system, right? You don't take all the data at the same place. What you do is basically you train your model, like let's take an example. So suppose you must have used your smartphones, right? And your smartphones in this era are like AI based as well, right? And these learn from your whatever you are texting, like they understand based on that, right? But like this data can't be sent to servers, right? These are personal data, and like in order to train models, right, we can't train models centrally with this data because this is personal data. So what federated learning gives us in here is basically we can like train individual models, like at the each smartphone level, right? And just take the model weight updates, like whatever the training has been done at the individual node level, we just push it to the central server and take those updates, model weights, and like based on that update the final model and maybe create it as a new base model or something to ship it to the new version for the new version. Okay, so this is something really nice exercise or like a technique to do that. Another that I mentioned is basically differential privacy. So like alongside your private data, there would be certain like very highly critical as well, something like your financial statements, something like that, right? And you can't just train data based on that, right? So you have to add some noise to the data, right? So this is where the differential privacy come in, right? You just add some random noise to the data, and like still you would be able to get results based on that, right? The AI would be able to give results, but this is not actual result. This is a derived result, right? Because you added the noise. So in this way, you can have certain techniques, right? To basically, these are some privacy techniques that you can have, and basically, if you see this access control, right? So every system should be able to access only that part which is needed for it. So you must have heard of this, like we must have heard of this principle of least privilege, right? So that applies in here as well, right? And on top of this all, basically we should definitely regularly audit our systems to find the leakages, because all this is automated, right? So we have to get certain audits in order to identify like what's working and what's not working for us, right?
Okay. So that's really brilliant insights. Thank you, Tarun. And of course, the foundation for all this, the ability to scale AI responsibly, starts with the underlying architecture itself. AI systems designed for governance, accountability, and scalability. So let's explore that next. Let's shift to solutions now. Because the reality is, responsible AI at scale isn't possible without the right architectural foundations. And at the core of that foundation is governance, not as a compliance checkbox, but as a design principle. Couple, for business leaders listening today, how should they visualize an AI structure with governance truly built in? What does that look like in practice?
A great framing, Kavita. And I'll start with big misconception that governance is something that you bold towards the end. That's the most. That is where the most organization goes wrong. In reality, governance has to be designed from the day one. I mean, you need to generally woven into the fabric of. Uh, I mean, you need to woven into the fabric of the system. I mean, practically, it start with the version control, right? It's not just for the code; it's for the model, it's for the data set. You need to know exactly which particular model or which particular data made that decision, and you need to have a kind of a traceability that I mean, you should be able to trace, okay, which particular model gave this what decision at what time. So the traceability is not no negotiable, right? You need to have a traceability. Second point is auditability. You need to audit the trails of the entire AI cycle, from data ingestion to data model training and deployment. When something goes wrong, or when the regulator come calling, you need a kind of a visibility. The third point is about the explainability. Technical document is not enough, because sometimes you may lag some information in the document. So you need to prove clear, understand insight on how your model work, why they produce certain outcome, whether that's for internal teams, leaders, or even for the customers. When governance is built this way, it stops being seen as a red flag. Instead, it builds trust within your team, within your customer, and with regulators. And perhaps most importantly, it creates scalable, or reliable AI foundation that you can build on with confidence.
Thanks. That paints such a clear picture, couple. Governance as a foundation, not an afterthought. So, throughout today's conversation, we've explored the critical building blocks of responsible AI: security, governance, and scalable architecture. But let's be honest, and when AI moves from lab into the real world, that's where things get complicated. It's one thing to talk about ethical AI, it's another to actually deploy it at scale in environments that are fast moving, complex, and unpredictable. Couple, from your experience leading technology teams, what's a hard earned lesson you've seen when it comes to deploying ethical AI in practice?
That's such an important question, Kavita. Because the truth is that this is where the theory often collides with reality. One of the biggest lesson we have learned is that ethics cannot be bolt on, or it's a one time exercise. It has to be baked into the entire your engineering process, and continuously it should improve. Practically, that means building a bias detection tools such as fairness audit to your development cycle before the deployment, not after. That means that you need to have a transparency feedback mechanism. If you if there is an unintended outcome, then you would know that okay, what happens and how, and you can catch them pretty early and maybe correct it whenever it is required. But perhaps the most overlooked piece is continuous learning. AI isn't static. Models evolve with the data, environment changes, user behaviors. That means your ethical oversight has to be evolved also. You cannot have a single kind of a monitoring system. You need to also evolve as the model or other the things evolve. If you treat your ethics like checklist you tick once, you are setting yourself for a failure. Deploying ethical AI at scale isn't easy, but you get it right. It protects you from it protects your customers, your reputation, and ultimately your business.
Such valuable perspective, couple. Ethics isn't a finish line, it's a living, breathing part of the process. Tarun, let's go deeper from an engineering standpoint. How do your teams turn ethical AI from a lofty concept into something real, measurable, and embedded in daily workflows?
Sure, Kavita. So I would say like that's a fair point, Kapil, that mentioned, and with fair point, like I'll say that fairness and bias checks are basically should be part of our regular development, just like security that you mentioned, right? So suppose like if we are creating a hiring AI, okay, so we should not be like favoring a particular gender or a background, right? And so in order to do that, what we would need to do is basically feed the same kind of unbiased data into the system, right? Otherwise it would be thinking one sided, right? So yeah, that's the initial point that we have to do, like feeding the correct data. But like even after the data is fed and the output is coming from the AI systems, right, we have to monitor that. And we what we usually do is basically create certain dashboards, or just similar to the BA dashboards, like we have certain alerts over the AI outputs, right? And if the AI is behaving unfairly, biasing towards certain particular output or category of output, right, we will just catch it and fix it like fast, right? So it's just like fail fast approach that we are taking up.
Thanks, Tarun. And I think that brings us full circle. As we've heard today, scaling AI responsibly isn't just a technical challenge, it's a mindset. One that combines intentional design, cross functional collaboration, and a commitment to security, governance, and ethics. A huge thank you to our speakers, Kapil Chen and Tarun.
Thank you, Kavita. Thank you, Kapil.
If there's one key takeaway, this is responsible AI isn't a constant, it's the foundation for sustainable, scalable innovation. Thank you all for tuning in. Stay curious, stay responsible, and keep building the future at scale.
See you. Bye.